Chapter 6: The Girl with the Moon Cat. I liked painting since childhood. My works even participated in exhibitions. I painted with gouache and watercolor, then I drew with a simple pencil. A few years later, I became interested in painting glass, wood and ceramics. Immediately after returning from the seminar, I felt an urgent need to paint what I had seen during the meditations. No, I am not a professional artist. My works are the expression of the soul, transferring my feelings and emotions, something like intuitive paintings. So I depicted the meadow in the mountains where I had appeared at the very beginning and met my mother, the path at the cliff near the mountain with 108 springs, the thin thread over the abyss leading to the monastery, my walks in the fiery sky, exiting into the astral through the 7 colors of the rainbow, entering to the flow the temple of the soul inside and outside, the library of the universe and that book with a single word written on it, the word. Nonna called me. I told her about the seminar. We agreed to meet in the city the next day in the evening. Nonna asked to take some of my paintings with me, so I had to take them to my office in the morning. I placed the paintings against the wall. The colleague, who had invited me to attend the seminar as a must, came to visit me as usual and froze in front of my creations. Wow, I flew in that flow too, just like you painted. Do you feel what kind of energy your pictures have? During meditation at my first seminar, where I ended up completely by accident, monks came to me, performed astral surgery on my broken leg, and I woke up and went home without crutches. Could you paint something for me too, Alice? Asked Svetlana, financial director at the boys' company. We worked with her in the same office room in silence. When my spells were first officially published, I could not help jumping for joy, so we started talking. Svetlana asked me to tell her about another reality, and later, after reading many wise books and meeting my teachers, she became a different person. Being an eyewitness to such phenomena as lifting of the table into the air, Svetlana often recalls the day of our acquaintance and cannot imagine what a boring life she would have now if I had not started jumping around our office with joy. Subsequently, I painted her soul in an opening lotus flower. Oddly enough, despite my lack of any skills in portraiture, as indeed, in another types of painting, all of Svetlana's relatives and friends, not knowing what was painted there, claimed that it was her. Nonna and I met in a cafe on the outskirts of the city in the evening. What are you doing, Alice? Your paintings gave me goosebumps. You painted another reality. Amazing. Your paintings transfer us there. We talked for a long time in our own language. Nonna's speech looked like the following. I sat at my desk yawning, afraid to oversleep. The teacher came up to me and said, Nonna, stop looking at the clock. I felt so ashamed. Think about it. If you don't realize it, absenteeism becomes an issue, and I want to sleep so much. Nonna studied at the academy there when she slept here. To get to that academy in a dream, as well as anywhere else, I mean a specific place there, one must become aware of it while sleeping, and then wake up on time here so as not to be late to a specific place here and not to forget everything that you have been taught that night there. In general, you see, it's not easy, but interesting. Suddenly Nonna's gaze stopped somewhere behind my shoulders. Listen. Take out the temple of the soul again. What it looks like from the inside, Nonna asked, shifting her gaze in turn from what I had painted to what was behind me. Turn around. Does not it remind you of anything? My earthly vision was poor. At first I did not even understand what exactly to look at. Suddenly, I discovered that the far part of the cafe was decorated, unlike ours, identical to my temple of the soul. A sign, said Nonna, you were on the right path. You and I were supposed to meet exactly in this place and exactly after you painted that. Well done. I told her what was going on at my work. The boy was overplaying with his rules. The company began to get problems. I would have to look for another place soon. Listen, let's play a little game with you, Nonna suggested, and I happily agreed. Imagine a bag of money, a big one. Okay. Do you imagine a big or just a big one? A very big one. Very good. You play well. Now imagine a small thread going from the bag to the place the money came from. Now tell me, just honestly, where did you get so much money? Nonna asked, smiling. I don't know, I said thoughtfully. How can you not know? Here it is, your money. Nonna pointed to the empty space where I had just imagined that very huge and almost impossible to lift bag. Note, this is your money, not mine. Just tell me where you got it from. True, I don't know. Alice, why? I am not a tax inspector, Nonna exclaimed, offended. Awake your memory now. Well, did you sell anything? No, this is not trade. Maybe, did you steal it? Nonna asked with insinuating laughter. You know, I don't do black magic. I got offended. Okay, sorry. Well, Do you produce something? No, this is not production, you see, this is something personally mine, what I can, something that only I know and can do. It's already warmer, come on remembering, don't be lazy. I see books, I breathed out. Great, what books? Not these, maybe they are about another reality. Nothing surprising, you are here to tell about what is there. Just think. You pulled out the word from the astral tablets, do you understand who you are? Perhaps, you can't still come to terms with it. I want love, an earthly one, I said sadly. You and I ourselves chose such life, Nonna stated, ourselves, so we knew what would await us, we knew it there before coming down here. We both came for a reason, nobody forced you and me to fall here, but we both wanted to touch these objects and eat this lamb. By the way, how do you like the lamb? Maybe someone came here to eat lamb. I came to love, understand, with earthly love. I want to love, a man, I exclaimed offended. Alice, you are stubborn as a sheep. Where do you see men in this world? Open your third eye wider, there are just boys all around. Who can understand you and me? You will meet, fall in love, and then be disappointed. For example, I see all men at once and I am bored because I already know everything in advance. Who they are, what will happen next. Is it not the same with you? The same. But sometimes I feel, this is he, while he thinks this is not me. You came to tell people about another world through the word and paintings, deal with it, you should write and paint, create. I can't write in his absence, I stated. It's funny, Nonna said thoughtfully, once upon a time, in ancient India, yogis had the third eye, but already weakly expressed. They periodically scratched it with special sticks so that it could see better. It means that men will still be sent to you so that you write, but kept at a great distance, because if one suddenly turns out to be him, and you realize your kindergarten dream of earthly love, you will obviously stop writing. Men for you are like that stick of the yogis, to stimulate the work of the third eye, so that you see another reality. By the way, I see an exhibition of your paintings, Nonna said casually, biting into what once had been a lamb. Of course, like with your book then, it seems unrealistic to you now, but it will happen, so paint, my dear, paint. I have already painted everything I saw there, I said sadly. No, not everything, Alice. I really don't know what else to paint. If you can't remember, this does not mean at all that you don't know. Therefore, sit down in front of the canvas and ask yourself, what do I see there? You don't have even to invent anything, your hands will do everything themselves, believe me. Your path is creativity, you have to somehow combine it with work and money. In my opinion, there is no need for a fortune teller. Everything is too obvious. Nonna, just don't swear at me. Please, hear what I am telling you now. I want love, earthly love, understand? No, I don't understand, and I don't want to, she said calmly. By the way, what do you see about me? You are a nomad, wanderer, you can't stay in one place for long. You will be moving a lot of, countrywide, maybe even abroad. This is your path, you have to help everyone. Nonna nodded in agreement. Nonna, but if you have to help everyone, so help me. I do help you, on your path. You are a sadist, I could not help exclaiming from a feeling of complete hopelessness. The waitress brought dessert and was about to put it on an empty place on the table when Nonna said, looking at me reproachfully, get your bag away. No, it's heavy, I can't move it by myself, and you don't send me a man, help me. I did as Nonna had said. I took canvas, paints, brushes and suddenly saw there a girl with a moon cat. They walked together in another reality. Both were ghostly, almost transparent, against the dark blue sky, very far from the earth. The girl was recalling what had been on earth and what not. It's enough there to imagine something as it immediately appears as ghostly as everything there. The girl recalled her acquaintance with the man who was not and her spells written to him, which he had just flipped through and never answered. The girl visualized autumn alleys in the park, since she wanted to walk with him on earth, but she was walking along the heavenly alleys with her moon cat. The girl built a small astral house. She lived next to the majestic pyramids, the same as on earth, but there. The 6 sacred geometrical bodies of Plato's and ancient Egyptian symbols appeared before her eyes. So I painted what I saw through the eyes of that girl. She felt very lonely. At night she used to open the window to the world and look at the earth with longing. The moon cat could not understand her. The girl wanted to return, because she really wanted love, earthly love. Once a year on Earth they celebrate a day when everyone suddenly begins to recall you. It took me a long time to get used to this. It turns out that here you can forget about someone for a year, and then, on that very day, call or come and say a bunch of compliments so that the person does not inadvertently think of being accidentally forgotten by you and disappear again for a year. It's a pity that on Earth such a day happens only once a year. Some days before I had to stop at a glamorous place where I did not want to go at all, because I knew in advance that I would definitely meet him there, the man who was not. By chance, not according to the laws of earthly reality, he was to be exactly in that place and at the time when I was there. After the spell castings in the haunted basement, he disappeared, and I did not want to remind him of myself, because he did not care if I still existed in the earthly reality or no longer. The other day I had a dream. We were sitting at the table in that glamorous place. He spoke to me about the stars, ordered to paint pictures for him the way he wanted them, with such colors, of such size. I did not want to paint like that. That was why I did not want to go there, but I could not help but go. I was standing by the elevator when I saw him approaching the building. The elevator arrived, I went in, pressed the button for the desired floor. Please, close the doors, let's go, please. The elevator did not obey, the doors remained open. I felt him coming closer and closer, climbing the steps. He would enter the elevator soon. Out of complete impotence, I leaned against the wall, lowered my head and closed my eyes. "Alice, what are you doing here?" a familiar male voice said in surprise. The elevator closed the doors immediately and started moving up. I sighed heavily. I did not know if he understood why I was not surprised at our meeting. I did not know what to say, I was just silently looking somewhere through. He explained confusingly something about a difficult period, that he was very busy, but I turned off my hearing, since he was playing words which already meant almost nothing on earth. The elevator stopped. The man who was not expressed a desire to talk with me. We were sitting at the very table I had seen in my dream. He spoke to me about the stars. I listened silently. He ordered to paint pictures for him the way he wanted them, and even began to show the way, but I interrupted him, finishing what he had already said in the dream. I said that I did not want to paint like that. He was probably offended. Saying goodbye, I hinted that I would be pleased if he called me on Sunday to congratulate me on the day that happened once a year. He smiled and asked 3 times the exact date. I repeated 3 times that it would be the nearest Sunday. He said he would certainly not only call me, but invite me somewhere on such occasion the next week. For better or worse, that Sunday I realized that I had not had much contact with ordinary people for many years. I was confronted with those speaking a different language, incomprehensible to mass, or if not speaking, listening and trying to understand, and even asking questions, smart questions, not to keep up a conversation or out of politeness, but in order to find out something interesting. My guests remembered me more than once a year. I showed them my meditation paintings with the girl and the moon cat as protagonists. The guests tried not to look, but to see. Then we sat at the table like ordinary people exchanging mystical life stories. Svetlana asked me to tell a funny story about homeless people. I often take the subway, since I have not yet remembered the way to get around the city without earthly means of transportation. That day, I was returning from work late in the evening in a half-empty train and, while reading an interesting book by a teacher, I came to a chapter saying that under no circumstances one should experience negative emotions towards the homeless ones. The train stopped at the next station, the doors opened, several people entered it, and a bum fell down from heavens onto the seat to my right. Everyone around grimaced and waited with interest for my reaction. Curiously and without negativity, I shifted my gaze from the book to my new neighbor. He was suitably creepy dressed and smelled like all homeless people without exception were supposed to smell. In one hand he held a huge, dirty bag stuffed with only he knew what. The bum seemed to be about 50 years old. He studied me with the same interest, trying to see what lived inside my earthly body. Suddenly, with his second and bag-free hand, the man reached into the pocket of what had once, apparently, been a jacket. After rummaging in it, he pulled out glasses, immediately and somehow in a completely not bum's way rubbed them on his dirty sleeve, put them on his nose, leaned towards me and almost hovered over the book, which I continued to hold open right on the page about his fellow sufferers. The bum started reading the book. Less than a week later, I had to go to the city center. That time there were a lot of people in the train, and as soon as a seat was freed up next to me, another bum immediately landed on it out of nowhere. That old man with a blurred look of small grey eyes, but, as it seemed to me, with the same huge and dirty bag in his hand, barely moving his tongue, was not at all drunk. He wondered when such station would happen, but no one responded, so I said it was the next one and, without expressing any negative emotions, continued reading another interesting book. The train stopped, the doors opened, but the bum continued to meditate. I was afraid that my neighbor would drive past his path, so I warned him about it. The man looked intently into my eyes. His cloudy gaze, directed through, became completely clear and deep. He took a step towards the doors and, continuing to scan me, sadly and kindly said, "You are from heavens, right?" The third homeless man happened to me on the way home from the grocery store. He sat on the steps with a piece of white bread in his hand, washing it down with milk from a paper bag and, in pauses between meals, sang something loudly to the whole street. Seeing me, the homeless man fell silent for a moment and suddenly said seriously in an absolutely sober voice, "Be careful, you can fall, but you must not." "Right, you must not fall." Svetlana supported the homeless man. "You have to give your knowledge into the world. As my cousin once said, if you do something in your life that someone else can do when you are gone, you do nothing at all here. My spells are what I did in the earthly reality myself, not someone else. I will turn them into books, moving them from the desk drawer to a bookshelf. Books are books, but you need to come up with some kind of personal business. Maybe, could you heal people?" asked Stasia. Stasia was a successful businesswoman. She had different teachers, but periodically indulged in black magic, the danger of which I warned her more than once. I did not know why, but unlike me, my friend was sent men by the handful without a break so that I had no time to remember their names. My friend got probably offended when she asked once again on the phone what I thought about Vasily, Peter and Konstantin, and I was silent, recalling who of them was who, not even trying to understand what had happened to Ivan, Pavel and Michael, about whom she had asked a month before. No, I did not envy her. Of course, I would not have managed a similar situation myself. However, the logic of the higher forces sometimes puzzled me. I looked at Stasia with another vision. She noticed my gaze and asked with fear, "What do you see?" "Wings," I said calmly and added, "black ones." "So you are the second to tell me this? What kind of wings?" "Beautiful." I laughed and glanced helplessly at the silent phone. The man who was not, of course, would not call. I knew he would not, but I still wanted a miracle. "Listen, open a training center. Let those you know teach people something too. It's so simple," proposed Svetlana. "No, I can't." I shook my head. "I won't succeed." "Why, Alice?" "I don't know to fill out tax returns." Svetlana laughed, but quickly forced herself to calm down and said, "Sorry, you are right. Lifting a table in the air is much easier than filling out a tax return, but I will teach you." I picked up the guitar and sang, looking at the silent phone. Nothing seemed to be easier than to get angry and send the man who was not to the far side of the moon in order to see him never again. However, I had long forgotten the way to get angry, and I would still see him, no matter how far I sent him. Because he had long been a part of me, he was present in me all the time and would be already forever.